I wanted to, we're going to have a discussion about the third of our four Gen planets, as we call them, namely what we call support, which is a rather sort of wide word of activity and programs that ultimately is targeted at supporting entrepreneurs. And as you well know, whenever you get into this discussion about what do entrepreneurs need, whenever you put out surveys, usually the number one thing that always comes back is access to capital. So it would be appropriate that we start this afternoon's session with a short conversation about what we're doing on the capital side of things. As you know, naturally being a start and scale initiative, we're very much focused on angel investing and crowdfunding. So I'm pleased to welcome my two co-chairs of the Global Business Angels Network, Claire Monk and Candace Johnson. So please come up and join us, Claire and Candace. I also want to once again pay special tribute to Africa, so if you want to take a seat of your choice. Tommy, I'd like you to see if you'll come up and join us for a conversation. We're going to talk about angel investing. You are the Global Business Angels Network of Africa. You're GBAN, so thank you for joining us. Come on up. And last but not least, I want to ask William Charter if he'll come up. Some of you know William as being my right hand. But when I give William enough time, his day job is managing the Global Business Angels Network, trying to staff these wonderful chairs and making sure that we're on target. So maybe we could start by just describing what is the Global Business Angels Network and why we came about. And I know I'll tell you what, I'll turn to Claire Monk first. I first had the conversation with Claire about this because she had started a global network of angel investors and had some experience with the pros and cons of doing that. And so I think it's now been 2 years since we seeded this idea. We are now the Global Business Angels Network, and Claire, I'll leave it to you to tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, thank you, Jonathan. Well, I think the vision was to say that we need a world with angels across borders. I think that I'm mirroring John May's words, which is one of the other co-chairs who cannot be with us today. But the vision was really, entrepreneurship is now everywhere. It's burgeoning. Entrepreneurs need to sell internationally. We need more connections. Access to capital is still an issue for many entrepreneurs. And then the angels bring not only finance, because they invest part of their own money, but they also, are board members, they're strategic advisors, they're helpers, they're connectors. And so I think that when we discussed a couple of years ago, we thought that it would be a marvelous addition to the GEN ecosystem to have the capital, standing on the side of the entrepreneurs, the rest of the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So GBAN 2 years down the road is, I think, quite a success because we have 76 members in 57 countries. When you think that angel investing is traditionally a local activity, I think that's a huge achievement that can be brought to GBAN's role in the world.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And I think to support what you're saying, we've put up on the screen a list of those 76 members. And I'll take this moment to ask each and every one of you, if you're looking at your phone, to look up for a minute, to look at that list and see if your country is not on the list. It doesn't matter whether you do or don't have an angel investor network. If you don't have one, see us. If you do have one, see us. The reason is because part of what this network is doing, and I know it's been a big part of your career, Candace, is to try to find parts of the world that really could benefit from learning of the great work that's done at BAE, at GBAN, at the Angel Capital Association, which is the United States Angel Investor Network that was seeded by the Kauffman Foundation. So Candace, tell us a little bit more about that. While people are looking, can we help people in those countries if they don't have an angel investor network?
Okay, so first of all, it's so wonderful to be here at the GEC. And, quite frankly, I think this is one of the most important speeches I'm ever going to give, and I only have a minute to do so. People do not realize that Entrepreneurs and angel investors absolutely are connected at the hip. And it is important for all of you who are entrepreneurs and all of you who are helping entrepreneurs to understand that when an angel investor comes, as Claire said, they are not just bringing their money. Actually, that's the last thing that they're bringing. They're bringing their experience, they're bringing their expertise, and they're bringing their network. And do you know what? The money that they are going to invest in that entrepreneur that you are helping come to become investment ready, or an entrepreneur that has already been helped by you, most of that money is money that they have earned themselves, that they have themselves accumulated by being a serial entrepreneur 2, 3, 4 times, and it is their money. So my plea to all of you here is that you realize that angels, I always say behind every great entrepreneur is a great business angel. And it is really, really true. But please do not forget that when you come to a business angel, that you be 100% ready to speak with that business angel, that you have your documents together, that you have your shareholders agreement, if you can do that. All of this is available with Jen or with the GBAN, the toolkit that we'll be talking about. It is very, very important that you be investment ready. Now, why do I believe in business angels? I've started 5 companies before I was 50, and now at age 64, I'm involved again in 5 companies. They're all satellite companies. I like satellites because they're trans-border, they're cross-border, they bring everybody together. My best satellite companies, which the largest satellite company in the world, SES, and the one I was just talking about earlier, were funded by business angels. People who took a risk when nobody else was willing to do that. And so I think that the most exciting places in the world, to speak to Jonathan's point, are those places where huge ideas are going to come forth. In Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Latin America. And this is opportunity land. And I would also say, you know, entrepreneurs, don't be afraid to think big. Don't be afraid to change the world. And when you do that, you will have a group of angels, whether it be ABAN, whether it be EBAN, whether it be BAE, whether it be MBAN, whether it be GBAN. We're dying to put together some great cross-border investments in big projects that are going to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. So Tommy, before we broke for lunch, Phil Auerswald said that in his study of demographic trends, all the great opportunities in the future are going to be in this continent. So tell us a little bit, to bring this home, about what angel investing really means here in terms of the potential of the future.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here. And when you consider just some high-level facts, 30 million square meters, 1.2 billion people, okay, 50% of which are south of the age of 20. You start to understand that the youngest continent has the greatest promise, and that's what Africa presents to us. What angel investors bring to the party, the opportunity for us, as I see it, is for Africans, local to the economy, to build Africa. We do need the help of the international community, but what angel investing does is it provides that local entrepreneur who's made some money, or the local professional who has made some money, to give back to those who are coming behind by offering a little bit of cash, not a lot, we usually recommend somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. But most importantly is access to their business network, working the phones on behalf of their investment, and finally spending the time mentoring, guiding, assisting that entrepreneur as they go through that journey. And most of us know you're all enthusiastic when your dad or your mom or your aunt or your uncle or the community puts money into this great idea you've had. You've just quit your job and you're going to go for it. And then you keep going, and then your friends come along, then you hit the valley of death. Nobody likes you. You're not making the money you thought. Everything is dire. That's where you need mentors. That's where the angel investors come in, is to be that holding hand outside of the family that says, yeah, don't worry about it. You're going to get through. And then they're there when you hit that hockey stick and the cash register starts to ring, the money's coming in, and you're wondering, how do we scale? How do we grow? How do we get to where we need to be as a company? That's what angel investing is about. And that's what we're trying to do on the continent by lighting up what GBAN is doing. GBAN has 3 purposes, and just 3. The first is to create as many angel networks and syndicates as possible on the continent. There are 55 countries in Africa. I'd like to see an angel network in each and every one of them. The second is to educate angel investors. Our investors on the continent are typically into property and into tangible investments, something they can touch and feel. So the idea of intellectual property investments, which is what a lot of people are getting into, whether it's in agriculture or in solar, whether it's in tech, is something that they need to be educated on. And third and final is, you may not be aware, but the whole concept of tax incentives for angel investing, it doesn't quite work that well here on the continent. So what we're doing is we're working on thought leadership with the policymakers to help them understand how they can help angel investors to help the entrepreneurs they invest in. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. And I think that's something that we hope that we will be helping you with this week, that part of the narrative of the entrepreneurship story is indeed that they need to understand the power of the angel investor. Can I get a microphone into the audience, if possible, please? Because I'm going to call upon someone that doesn't know that I'm going to call upon him to make a comment, and I hope he doesn't get mad with me. But, one thing I'll tell you actually in this room, they're coming to the Global Entrepreneurship Congress overall. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but we do actually have 5 billionaires. And coming next week after the Congress, I'm going to send you into the audience over here in just a minute. Thank you. Coming will be 500 startups coming into Africa to look at some of the startups that we met this week during the Congress. So we're thinking smart investment in the continent. But let me I want to start by asking a very important question, though, which is, what is the biggest challenge for why investors would not invest in Africa as far as foreign investors? And I want to go to someone. Now, Jeff, I didn't tell you I was going to call upon you, but I happen to know that you are an investor, but you don't invest in Africa. Is that correct in my assumption? You're here, you're listening, you're learning. You've hidden in the back. I found you. I was wondering if you could give us your perspective on this. And what's the big barrier for an investor who says, well, I'm convinced that the case of coming to Africa, or indeed any other country which has not got a most common path for investors, what can we do? What could we do to make it more appealing to, for example, an American investor?
Right. Well, in my case, I don't invest outside of the U.S. at all in terms of venture investments. It's primarily just because the opportunities are so great in the U.S. And for me, it's easier to manage a portfolio that's within a 3,000-mile radius of where I reside, which is in your hometown, Washington, D.C. That being said, I think that there are enormous opportunities. I'm in some funds in other parts of the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Israel, and I think that there's tremendous opportunity here, and just being here today has opened my eyes to that even more. And I think it's more just looking for angels, this is what you're focused on at the moment, who have an interest in investing around the globe, because there are many of them. And I know we were talking about Tim Draper at lunch. He's just one of many Americans who has put money into companies here, and I think there'll be many more as the opportunity presents itself.
Thank you for that. Maybe we'll make it a mission to see if we can convince you to become an investor in other parts of the world. Let's just get a perspective from Claire on this. Yes.
Thanks. I think that this is exactly the vision of GBAN, is first to create more transparency, more information about, what it means to be an angel in different countries. I think that's the starting point if we want to start collaborating cross borders, and then if we want to invest cross borders. You said this morning, Jonathan, that one of the vision of GBAN was to create a methodology for cross-border collaboration, and I think that's the basis. That's why we're launching country toolkits. So I want to invest in Nigeria. What should I know? Who are the good contact people? I need, information about the shareholder agreement, who has information. So very practical and tangible. So I think that's the first step. And then we can probably create this community worldwide where we co-invest, maybe not the first round, which is usually a local investment, but when the company needs to go across borders, I think that within the GBAN community, we'll probably find very good partners to do that.
Okay. You can keep that for a minute. I think they can hear me on this. Is that right? Can you hear the mic? Okay. I'd like to just open this last thread of conversation. We're going to have one more thing we have time to do, which is we do want to make sure that we've covered all the things that we want to tell these leaders that GBAN has to offer them, because this is your GBAN. If you don't have an angel investor community, you can be part of building it with GBAN. As Claire just mentioned, there are these country toolkits that she's been working on with great help from Alana Ramo and our team also in trying to figure out which countries we want to do country toolkits. So if you've got an idea for doing a country toolkit and for angel investing, please be sure to find Claire. I'm sure she'll be at the reception too this evening. But I want to pick up one other thought, just see if while we've got any microphones in the audience, is there somebody else that wants to make a comment about why about the challenge of having an angel investor community in your audience as we work to GBAN? Oh, we have Angelo over here. If you don't know Angelo, he's a pioneer of entrepreneurship because he's worked for many, many years to try to build the entrepreneurial culture in Venezuela. And he has been one of our voices since the very first GEC that we held at the Kauffman Foundation 9 years ago. So Angelo, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, my comment goes in the direction of trying to understand who is an angel investor. This is a fancy name. It's somebody that we think that is out of our reach. But actually, what I have found is that normally an angel investor, it's a former entrepreneur that has a relative success in his environment, in his community. So I come from, Venezuela is a country in struggle, as you all know. I always mention that when I have a chance. And we are looking forward to a brighter future in which entrepreneurship is understood as a part of as all we know of development and progress. But when you build a community or an ecosystem in your region, I see many similarities between South America and Africa. You don't need to look at the unreachable angel investor that he has other stuff in his mind. In your local community, there is a successful entrepreneur. The best way for him to give back, to return to his community, as I understand it, is to get into this new role. He'll still be an entrepreneur, but then he'll start mentoring other entrepreneurs, younger entrepreneurs with less experience. And then he will become an angel investor by moving on from that mentorship to maybe some seed money. And so I have experience on that. For sure, getting in contact with you guys will give them a lot of content about this. So I guess there are many angel investors in this room, not only the big guys that are into investing as their way of life, but as entrepreneurs that are willing to give back into their communities. So that's my comment.
Candice, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I couldn't agree more with you, Angelo. Just one thing, he or she angel investor. And because increasingly in the United States and really throughout the world, Africa, Europe, more and more women angel investors are coming to the fore. I also want, so a serial entrepreneur is absolutely a very good place to start. But, you know, my father was one of the founders of the Israeli Startup Nation and the venture capital community. And he really tried to get what I'm also trying to espouse wherever I go, and that is this idea of a nation of investors. A nation of investors. And so if we can enable every single person who has a little bit of discretionary money to invest in a startup, I think that we can really, you know, change the world. And I just want to make a little plug that we at GBAN, what we're going to be trying to doing during the conference, and you'll be hearing from us, is that each Gen national lead should meet the GBAN national lead. And you will be receiving an invitation from us about that. Yeah.
On Wednesday evening, we have a reception to introduce, among other things, courtesy of ABAN and Gibbs Business School, the Gen MDs with the Angel Investor Network community in their country. Believe it or not, you guys don't seem to know each other. And I think it's a good example of how we feel that Congress is so important, because the number of people, as I mentioned over there earlier, I was connecting our various camps in Russia. We need to make sure you guys are connected. I'm going to get one more comment with a microphone over there, but before I do, stand by, David. We'll be right with you. But did you want to add any more comment on that?
Just a comment concerning what can GBAN do for you. I think that going back to Angelo's point, I think that we have the luxury of having 57 countries with very large and vast and diverse experiences about what it means to set up an angel group, or what it means to recruit angel investors to your network. So I think we always speak about serial entrepreneurs, and of course I think that's a great group to tap into. But in the case of I run my own angel group in Belgium. We have a lot of managers, so it's okay to have different profiles. I think what it means is just investing your own money and time to help the entrepreneurs. So I think what GBAN can bring is you need information, you need resources, you need access to experts. You want to set up a group, you need trainers. You've already set up an angel group, you're having other challenges about growing an angel group. This GBAN is probably the good place to ask questions and find answers. So that's really what GBAN is here to do.
Great. I want to make sure we're going to leave the last word here over for David, so we've got a voice from Asia here. I wanted to mention actually the GBAN board should get a special round of applause. I will tell you, they're the only board in the Gen community that meets every month. And by the way, they are not paid. And they are a working board. We have a new board member for India who, unfortunately, due to an illness, couldn't be here today, but was scheduled to be here. This is a really important initiative, and we hope that you'll follow up on what Claire was saying, because for us, it's about how can GBAN help, once again, in the broader mission of creating a healthier entrepreneurial ecosystem, which, as Candace has said, means that we need to make sure it's integrated into everything else. And maybe that, for some countries, means bringing expertise or bringing in toolkits. For other countries, it might mean that actually you're willing to go mentor other countries. It could mean that it's simply cross-border investing deals or expertise. But one of the things we will tell you is that, William, what do we do? What are these field calls that are done every month? Could you just tell us what those are?
Yes. So we every month we are organizing a field report call. It's similar to what GERN is also doing, where we're talking about the latest in angel investing trends. For example, Candace has done one on cross-border investing, which was really great, and we're certainly always interested in showcasing what's going on around the world. And you can come to me if you have an idea of what could be shared to the angel investing community from your perspective, and share with the rest of our network.
Thank you. And well done to William, because, of course, I should give credit to the chairs, but in the last year, he's doubled the number of members of GBAN, so congratulations on that. We really appreciate that. And we hope that you'll participate in the GBAN meetings that are taking place this week. You'll be able to dig further. A last comment to David Arjen, MD from Taiwan.
Hello, everybody. I'm the cookie guy from Taiwan, the pineapple guy. So I think one of the challenging for the angel investing in Asia is a lot of ecosystem are uprising. So a lot of first-timer angel are actually facing a lot of struggle once they put in the money. So I think there's a lot of area that we can work together is once the money in, how do we help them to be a good mentor? How do we help them to realize to what extent you open your network? And the most importantly is how do you explain to your wife, you just made a $20,000 investment and that money may not or may not come back. So that's currently my true story. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Candice. Thank you, William. We appreciate it. We're going to be back for lots more this week. This is just a cameo this afternoon. So thank you very much indeed.